Today on the Cameron Journal podcast, we're talking with a delightful editor whose name I am not going to butcher. She'll pronounce it when we get to the interview. A wonderful editor of a new collection called Book of Ramallah, and it is a collection of Palestinian writers writing about their experience in the occupied territories. And this interview is an hour and a half. It's long, but it is one of the most exciting, amazing interviews I have really ever done. And I say that not all the time, but sometimes. And I just really enjoyed getting a whole new experience of what it's like to live in Palestine. The collection does that, and this interview does that. So if you don't have a lot of experience with this hard-fought region of the world, and you want to find out what it's like on the ground, this is the interview for you. I know a lot of us know a lot about the conflict between Palestine and Israel, but the lived experience of everyday people in the occupied territories is one of the unique situations in the entire world. And the person we're speaking with does such a wonderful job of explaining how they go through some of the most simple actions of life that we take for granted, but that end up taking way more time and effort, and how invariably adaptable Palestinians have become to existing in this odd environment that they find themselves as a people. So this interview was conducted late at night. We conducted it at noon Jerusalem time, which made it about 2 a.m. here on the West Coast. So if there's an errant yawn or something on my side, just know I was up late. And I did it the day after my birthday. So I'd kind of been having fun all day, and then I had this interview. So but this is one of the better ones I've ever done. And I was so excited after I was done, I couldn't sleep for 3 hours. I got off with them at like 3:45 in the morning, and I literally just couldn't sleep. So it's just absolutely amazing. I should talk about it less and play it more. Here we are. We're talking about the Book of Ramallah collection. This is the Cameron Journal podcast. Let's go. This is the Cameron Journal podcast. It's a place where we talk about important things. It's a place where we bring a little slice of the news to you. It's a place where we do important things, have important conversations. It's also things that I like to talk about. My name is Cameron Cowan, and this is the Cameron Journal podcast. Welcome to another interview with the Cameron Journal podcast. My name is Cameron Cowan, and today we are on with a wonderful editor whose name I'm not going to murder. I'm going to let them introduce themselves in a moment. And they have edited a wonderful collection of prose from Palestine, the occupied territories of West Bank and Gaza. And longtime listeners will know that several months ago, we interviewed Alex Rothschild, who does a lot of advocacy work, and who's actually weirdly friends with someone I used to live with as well, who heads the Donkey Saddle projects. So this is a subject I've been a bit obsessed with. And to see wonderful writing come out of such an area of the world like this that's so fraught with difficulty is truly an absolutely amazing experience. So I'm going to introduce the editor of this collection. Why don't you say hello, introduce yourself, and tell us about the Book of Ramallah.
Hi, how are you? My name is Maya Abu Alhayat. I'm a Palestinian.
I'm so glad I didn't try to pronounce that. Welcome.
Thank you. Actually, in Arabic, Abu Alhayat is snakes, you know. So I'm the father of snakes, yeah.
Well, I grew up in the American South where we have many kinds of snakes, so I'm familiar with your kind.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I'm a writer from Palestine. I live in East Jerusalem. I write poetry and novels and children's books. And I run an organization that promote reading for children called Palestinian Writing Workshop. And I'm the editor of the Book of Ramallah, which is a collection of 10 short stories from various Palestinian writers very famous, very sometimes young, different kind of writers, like all kind of generation. And it's a part of the series of the book cities that Coma Press published through the years. And I'm very glad that I was chosen to be the editor of this book.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, tell us a little bit about. I did not know this till I saw this book about the Palestine Writers Center. I wasn't aware that was a thing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what they do?
A Palestinian writing workshop. It's an organization that we publish children stories, children books, and do creative writing workshops with in schools and children's centers, and we also do it with the young writers. So it's all about writing books and these kind of things. We work mainly in Ramallah, but we also do activities all over Palestine.
Fascinating, fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, I did not know this until I was reading your amazing introduction to the collection. I did not know that Ramallah was such a cultural center of Palestine. I had no idea. Give us a flavor of the arts and culture going on in Ramallah.
Yeah, actually, after Oslo, let's say in 1995, Ramallah.
Hang on one second.
Yeah.
In 1993, Norway brokered Oslo Accords. It was a peace treaty that created the Oslo period. Keep going.
Okay, but this was the signing, but the actual things happening in 1995, let's say. Actually, I came back to Palestine in that date. I was living in Tunis with my father, who was in PLO. So I mainly make that date as a date of Oslo. And,
right. Yeah.
So Ramallah become the city. The capital of Palestine. I'm sorry, my dog is barking.
Oh no, it's okay. With work from home and COVID, we've all gotten used to barking dogs and meowing cats. It's totally fine. Yeah.
So sorry. Ramallah became one of became the city because maybe because of all the authorities, Palestinian authorities go there, or the cultural organization was there and continue to become bigger. Of course, Al Qattan Foundation, for example, was established at this era, and then everything happened around this city. So all the activities, the coffee shops, and it's also because you in Ramallah, most of the people that can come from their villages and their cities and to live abroad, to live away from their families, because Palestine is a very small country, and everybody knows everybody, and so you have all your family around you all the time. So you need some freedom to in order to make some cultural scene, yani. So so most of the writers also came from other countries and all live in Ramallah. So it become one of the it became the city of the cultural, the hub, the things that is happening now, and it's until now it's you can say that about Ramallah.
Yeah, I found it interesting. After reading the introduction, I was just this is my wanderlust. I'm just kind of oh my goodness, I want to go and sit in one of these coffee shops. And then I'm kind of yeah, but everyone speaks Arabic, so you're going to be bored. But
no, believe me, you will manage yourself. Everybody speak English actually too.
And so I have no idea how I'll get there. But it's I just want to go and experience this on the ground. And I was very surprised because, as I'm sure you know, for many Americans, Ramallah is a round circle on a map of the
Yeah.
region we've been looking at, some of us who are older, for 20, 30 years. And it's kind of always like the hubbub of it all and all this type of thing. And people know about the refugee camps and all this type of thing. But most people
Yeah.
don't know, like, and I didn't really think about this till I read the book. Like, this is a functioning city.
Of course.
Like people,
Yeah.
like if the city has a curfew, this one poor guy gets stuck in his physical therapist's office.
Yeah.
Like, people are commuting on donkeys
Yeah.
in like, and it's like it was so eye-opening, because I had kind of forgotten, like, oh yeah, this is a functioning city, just like here in America. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah, it's the
yeah.
center. Yeah, it's everything happening, and this is like this is the thing in Ramallah, for example, because yani, at one moment everything is working and happening, and and at the second moment it can be all closed and it can be all like curfew, and you will have. One person like dying or something, you have, and all the city can be closed for 1 hour, so I always say this, when you, like in Palestine, in general, you have to listen to the news before you go out from your house in order to know what to do. What is the situation out there? Is it safe to go out? Is it everything is good? So it's kind of, it's this kind of things, that you can plan, but at the same time, and this is actually what make people under these kind of circumstances, I forget the name in the word in English, but it's like you can make it easy, to do your plan spontaneously, and always,
Yeah, I imagine
good.
it's impossible to plan anything, really. It's like everything has to be spontaneous. Like, okay,
Exactly.
things are good today, we'll do it. Not good today, we'll reschedule in the future. Like, yeah,
Exactly.
it's always kind of in flux. We've gotten a little taste of that thanks to COVID in this country. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I've
yeah.
never I've never in my lifetime, there's never been an instance where I've walked in to a grocery store and the shelves have been empty. And like
Yeah,
back in March, there was like nothing in the stores. I sent a picture to my mom, and I'm kind of like, "Are we living in the Soviet Union?" Like, it's like
yeah.
I'm holding an iPhone, so no. But it looked like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and like think like tons of businesses being closed. In the darkest days, having 9 p.m. curfews, you can't gather together. And
yeah,
as a political scientist, I'm kind of like, well, I guess now we know what East Germany was like in the
exactly.
1960s. And so we've gotten this education, and I think what's frightening, it's like we're all here, like we're done with COVID, opened things, and but people in your situation, this has been going on for decades.
Actually,
Like,
when
this has
COVID
been going on
happened,
your whole lives.
yeah, when COVID happened, I felt safe. Where once sick, I felt like not isolated. I felt at the first time that, because all the world is like now, we are one of the whole world. It's like
Yes,
normal.
yes.
It's being normal. It's for the first time. And I was really, it was a really good year actually for me. It was not bad at all. Yeah. It's totally like this. It's like you can plan, but I found the word that I was looking for. You adjust very easily. When you have
Mm.
all these traumas and all these problems and all this like cutting down, and you always adjust that you will lose something, or yeah. So it's like part of your life, and it's not surprising anymore. So it's sad actually, but at the same time, it's what make you what you are. So I think I adjust very quickly, because I work in Ramallah, but I live in East Jerusalem, so I had to cross the Kalandia checkpoint every day, and
I
that
can't
means,
imagine. I mean, please
yeah.
continue with your story. But like, having read a little about it, I cannot imagine doing that every day.
Yeah, I do it. I do it every day.
So your
And it's
commute's like 2 hours. It's like you live in LA.
it's like it's exactly 1.5 hour for me to go from my house to Kalandia to Ramallah, and of course 1 hour, 1.5 hour coming back. But it's not that. It's not the time. It's also the confusing, the things that is may happen or may not happen at that moment, and what and how you change from during this very short period. Like you change from you always think about Kalandia 1 hour before because you need to go to Kalandia, and then you are at Kalandia checkpoint. Then you are away from Kalandia. So you need all this process of thinking and relieving and being very stressed. And you do it every day, so you forget about it. You forget that you do it every day, but you do it, and you are in all this process every day, and become part of you. You become like if you see me, you will notice that I move a lot. I shake my hand a lot. I'm like always stressful and always looking behind, and so all this, like, you don't know why Maya is like this. Why she's moving all the time, or why she's like or these things that you forget that this is what make you, and this is actually what is very good about literature, because it makes you see and understand what is happening in people's life because you just see the big picture, you just hear the news, but you don't see you don't live people's feelings and lives and daily issues.
I think that was the biggest thing about the collection that I thought was absolutely fascinating, was the everyday lived experiences. And as a writer, that's what I focus on. Like, I like to write about I write a lot about trauma, and I like to write about like how it's lived. Most books start after the bad thing has happened. I'm like, let's back up and talk about the bad thing that happened, because this has totally changed this person. This is a profound experience. So the Kalandia checkpoint is south of Ramallah. It's very famous. It's like well known. And so you go from the East Jerusalem, which is presumably south of Ramallah, and then you go through that. So you go past through the IDF every single day, and like they probably know you by face at this point. And that's just part of life. Like going to the mailbox. That's truly fascinating to live in that sort of thing. Yeah. And then also, like you mentioned, like now the whole city has been surrounded by Israeli settlements. So you probably watched as like the years have gone by. That was a patch of desert a few months ago, and now there's a high rise sitting on it. Okay. What's that like to kind of watch the town get enveloped by buildings?
Actually, this is what is the whole Palestine, the whole West Bank, the whole these things that. What do you have? Like, you have Ramallah that is surrounding by too many settlements. You have Nablus that is surrounded with too many settlements. You are in cantons, you are in circles, and at the same time you feel. You don't feel it I went one time. I went 2 times to Gaza, for example, and when I went there, because it's like people can't go out from Gaza, so they live frustrating, but they don't know that they are living in frustrating. They live their life, but they are all like pale. They are sad. They are, and even I'm talking about the young, the girls, these guys, the people who's like supposed to be living. And at Ramallah, for example, it gives you that feeling that you are free, you can do everything, you have coffee shops, you can drink beer here or there, and you work, you get paid, you have restaurants and etc. But at the same time, it's just that it's you are not expand, you don't feel this feeling of like abroad, or like you have like extension or something. So that's why other Palestinian cities is like very conservative, closed, and if you want to do something, you go to Ramallah, because there is no extension between the city, and this is very small cities, and they are very close and very. It's not supposed to be like this, yani. It's supposed to be like a whole one big city, the whole Palestine, yani. So yeah, it's but people, this is people just adjust and just adapt things and live their life, and actually it's quite interesting. Like if you want to ask yourself, what is life, yani, and what is living your life? Is it to travel? Is it to have a good relationships? Is it to love? Is it to talk? Actually, when I went to Gaza, they were very happy with me, very, very, very happy, and I was all the time asking why, what is happening. Actually, because they had the chance to talk to someone strange that you don't know it. When you talk to someone strange, you reinvent yourself, and this is very sad, because you it's like you are standing on a point that is not moving, and because you are not moving, you are not reinvent yourself with other people, and you see the same people all the time. You cross all the same streets, everything, and in a very small area. So imagine, yani, all this, what is making make you as a person,
Yeah, I think that's the part that's so stunning, is, and it kind of breaks my brain, is I can't imagine living, like trying to live your life under those constant conditions. Like, very truly, I don't know how you do it. And I mean, I confess my ignorance, I don't know how you do it. I find the contained pretense of freedom to be incredibly interesting. Because it's almost like this little spot has been created, and a sort of thin veneer of freedom has been tossed over the top, and it can be so easily taken away by a single incident. Kind of here today, gone tomorrow. And I just can't imagine trying to date, start a family, anything like that, under that kind of constant fear.
Yeah, I just published a book, The Book of Fear. It's a collection of poetry, actually, and I collect all my fears because I live in fear. So I collect all my fear in one collection, and I hope now I will end with this with the fear, yeah.
No, that's a good way to process it.
Yeah, because I think that fear is what moves you here. It's fear and boredom, actually. And so you do things because of fear, you react because of fear, you act also, not just react. So I think it's control us. It's control us in a way that that makes you life a little bit. I don't know.
More intense, faster, deeper.
Yeah, but I don't. I try not to think about it too much, because it's when you live in this kind of fear, you just want to ignore it. I'm hiding him on the closet, and I look at it, take it from away for it, and we drink sometimes together, but I just ignore it. I can't handle anymore such a kind of fear, actually.
That's interesting, but I think that's the only thing you can do. I mean, right now we're kind of living under the same conditions, but ours has an end date.
Yeah.
The vaccine will come, things will reopen, the end is finally here. despite the efforts of Jared Kushner, your situation is not ending anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's the only thing you can do is like, yes, I have this, but we're just going to not acknowledge it right now.
Mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm.
then,
And because
because you can't get out of bed otherwise
exactly, and it's not just
for
you.
your
Yeah.
hour and a half commute, like, you know, sort of thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's I wrote a poem once called I am looking for escape. Like, but we don't have desert. Like all the roads, like in with settlements, that I really need to take my kids in a suitcase and get them away. But I don't want to learn a new language, or I have a fear of flighting. I don't want to go away. I want to live here, but without this fear. But it's like impossible, not just for me, for my kids also, because now you don't have the fear of yourself. You have the fear of others, yani. So yeah. But we need to forget about this. Yeah, because it's not something you can think about it too long.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of an interesting sort of thing, like the choice to stay or go.
Yeah.
Like if you can. So I mean, there's like that question to start with. It's like if you can get out of here, should you, sort of thing. What's the calculation there? How do you make that? How do you make that decision? Which is a long way of asking, why did you decide to stay?
Yeah, actually, I don't have this desire to leave. That's it. Yani, I lived all my life abroad because of my father. And because the whole Palestinian issues, yani, the whole case, I lived in Beirut. Then we left Beirut because the war happened, and so I went to Jordan, then I went to Tunis, and in all these cities, I lived as a one who should leave all the time. But when I came to Palestine, it was the place that I want. I hang my clothes on the closet. I put my pictures on the walls, and I just don't want to leave anymore. It's our cities, yani. It's not the place that somebody will come and kick us from it. So this is my feeling. But even in Palestine, like now I lived in Nablus, I lived in Ramallah, and then I came to Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, my husband is from Jerusalem. I am not from Jerusalem, so I need to have permit to live in Jerusalem. So now every year I had to renew my permit. So and every year I get into this fear: are they going to let me for the next year or not? Because they have the choice to not give me the permit, not renew it. And so when I do this interview, or I did other interviews, I always have this fear of maybe they will notice me, maybe they will know that or they don't like my what I'm saying. So I need to be careful, because maybe they will not renew my residency.
Right.
It's all so, and this is not happened with my husband, for example. And this is very actually interesting for me, because he just lived in Jerusalem all his life. Even in his identity, he called when they called him, Jerusalem people have a special case, because they are not Israelis, they are not Palestinian. They write in their passport Jordanian, but they are not Jordanian. They are Palestinian. So but they don't care. All of them, they don't care about what is written in their identity, because they live there and they will not leave Jerusalem. So it's kind of very confusing, but at the same time, my husband is very comfortable with that. He knows that this is his place, and he don't care. Not like me, because maybe because of my childhood or something, because I am all the time afraid of my identity. What should I do with myself? And where. So it's like I don't know, maybe, but it's a whole life of being escape. It's escape all the time. I'm escaping all the time. So I hope I'm not escaping anymore, and just staying where I am. Because it's enough to be a writer, actually, and isolated as a writer, not just as a Palestinian and as a woman.
No, I was, before I sent you the link, I was having a conversation with someone, and I was talking about how one of the things that I hate about writing is how time consuming it is.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to have, a social life, to go to that bar, whatever have you, and hang out with people, because, for like 4 hours, because it's like, I really should be home writing or reading something, or doing a business thing, because I'm a full-time artist. So it's like, it's like, I also could be at home doing my bookkeeping, like, sort of thing. So I it's a very difficult sort of thing. So yeah, I identify with that. In your husband's case, that must be so confusing. You live in East Jerusalem, which is technically in Israel.
Yeah.
But you're Palestinian, so your government is the PLO sometimes, kind of, sort of, and your passport is Jordanian.
Yeah.
How do you feel, like, the fact that he's created some sense of home and belonging with that complete disaster of identity,
but
not of his own making, but it's just kind of a mess. That's amazing.
But actually, this is amazing. Yeah, this is like very original, because they make all these identities and like you put it at the passport to make you feel not belonging to the place that you are in. So because he don't have this confusing, he know that he's from Jerusalem. He's a Palestinian. He know what he is. So he don't care. He doesn't care about what is written in any kind of authorities papers, or documents. It's like he has the authority on himself. And I find this very, very, I think the people who live in Jerusalem, Palestinian people who live, they have a very, very special case, circumstances, and and when you talk to them and when you know them, you will notice that they are different. They are different from people who live in West Bank, or the people who live in Haifa and Jaffa, or Tel Aviv, for example, the Arab Palestinians who live there. So it's totally different, and at the same time they belong. They know this area is there and they belong, and that's it. Khalas, no, enough.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. I like how each of the stories, and also your brilliant introduction, I enjoy I enjoy how you guys, not you guys, I'm sorry, let me rephrase. That's a very American thing. Let me rephrase. I enjoy how you as a group, that sounds better, you all talk around the politics of your area, and no one ever really directly addresses it.
Yeah.
And I found that very interesting. It's like this cloud. It hangs over everything.
Yeah.
It affects everything that goes on. And no one really just like went right in on like,
my God.
Like what the situation really is. And it is, I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah,
so in terms of like
censorship, I think it's very interesting point, Jan. It's kind of also censorship about the literature, about the art, because we are afraid of because the Palestinian, literature from the beginning, lay down on the political all the time, because we need it. We need the story. We need to write the story. And it's like politics and literature and art. It was like very, 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 very close. And there was no literature away from politics. So what is happening now that we are as a new writers, and what we are trying to say no, we want politics away from us, because we are also frustrated from politics. We are we get enough from it. So we need to do new art scenes, but at the same time we are not escaping. We are not able to do it. And also because politics affect everything. Like if you drink water, it's politics in Palestine. If you walk in the street, it's politics. If you want to go to your work, it's politics. So it's all politics, and it's all can be affected by being under occupation, or by being a Palestinian, or by it's all. This is the situation. All my life is affected from being Palestinians. And from the case, and I'm not in the politician, or I'm not at all, but all my life is affected by this. And I imagine myself, if I'm not Palestinian, what is my story? It's totally different, yani. So yeah, so when you talk about personal things, it's always general. It's always like linked to general actions or general things that happen around you. It's always linked in some way.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting, because in this country, it's so, like, all art has become so political.
Yeah.
Especially in the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. Another one of Trump's great contributions. He certainly made us all get pen to paper. And camera to film and all this sort of thing. And so it's like everything, every, movie is about it, and, it infects every single piece of literature, and COVID will only make this worse. Every single book's going to have something about COVID for the next decade. It's almost like we've done the opposite. Like in the 90s, no one wanted to really have anything to do with politics. And you look at the books and arts in the period, and everything was very apolitical. And then 9/11 happens in 2001, and things get a lot more political. And then there's kind of this lull, and then the financial crisis happens, and all of a sudden we're having this conversation about our economy and all this type of thing. And over the last several years, like, everything in this country has started to get talked about. We're doing race, we're doing economic inequality, like, we're doing everything that's wrong in this country kind of all at once. And so just now it's touching everything. And it's like we kind of, it's like a drug, like we can't get off of it. It's like we're addicted to it. And it was just so interesting. I was anticipating, like, deep stories that show about, the oppression, because basically Israel's running an apartheid state. No one ever says it, but all this sort of thing. And I was surprised at how little politics there actually was. But now that you've explained it, that makes total sense. It's already everywhere. So let's talk about something else. Everybody knows what's going on. Exactly. What else is going on? Yeah, yes, yeah.
And imagine to talk about, it's also a political point, or like it's like you are making your point when you are not talking about it, because everybody is expecting you to talk about it, because this is what, if you are a Palestinian writer, you should write about it. So no, it's sometimes, I wanted actually to show that Ramallah is not just like, and Palestinian is not just people who's like throwing stones or being killed or being jailed or being all this kind of thing. It's like, no, they do other things. They get in love, they have their own isolation, they are bad, they are good, all this of anti-hero things, yani.
Yeah, I mean, there's in one of the first story, there's the woman who goes to the man who's out of prison and basically is just wanting to marry him right then and there. Good sight unseen, presumably. It's just, and I think that was the thing about this book that was so impactful, is I have spent so much time studying this conflict in grad school and all this. I mean, I did, my master's degree is in diplomacy with an emphasis in terrorism and asymmetrical warfare. Ooh, so I've spent a lot of time studying your region of the world. I've camped out. And so for me, the Israel-Palestine question has always been, British mandate, blah, 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 1947, and this war, and that war, and this peace treaty. And it's all very abstract. And then reading these stories, and even now hearing you talk about, moving back after Oslo and all this type of thing, it's just kind of like the humanity of it all is like back in place. Like, these are real human people with lives and problems just like us, but they're just doing it in this really unique political environment.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you have this feeling. This is like for me, it's like wow. I'm very happy that you got this from the book because this is actually what we all were trying as new writers, new artists. Like we are trying to make Palestinian as they are. You know,
Yeah.
like even for Palestinian scenes, and they most of the time they don't want to hear this. Very normal stories, yeah, because they want, يعني, it's also part of adjust, like you want to grade yourself or make yourself very hero as a hero in order to like accept that you are losing or you live in this kind of circumstances. But we are fighting to make to do the normal things, because when you live you need to know what is normal in unnormal condition. You need to see it, because this is what it is. Yani, this is what is occupation. You know, to you want to live your life, but there's you can't live this life because the normal life or the other people, the normal that people know. So this is the situation, and you live it every day. You live it with your children. You live it with your the works, with your husband, and it affects your. Actually, I want to emphasize on this point, because يعني sometimes you see people and you say this, they are very violent or something, and this is why they are violent. يعني, you know, if you know the whole story, you know why people are acting like this, because when you يعني, this is the circumstances that you live in. You need to adjust on it, and so you can't just judge people from what they are doing now. You have to know the whole story.
Well, that kind of, regrettably, I want to talk a little bit about the politics of it all. So I guess I'm going to commit a faux pas, because one of the things I wanted to ask, because we hear so little of this perspective in America,
Yeah.
is with the new settlements and Israel's, I'm going to call it passive annexation of the West Bank. They're trying to build themselves an annexation. What does that feel like? What do people think about it? What's the average man on the street sort of view of what's happening?
Actually,
Our media will literally, it's so hot. Our media will not touch this subject,
yeah,
because anytime you ever talk about it, people immediately accuse you of anti-Semitism. The Europeans, except the Germans for obvious reasons,
yeah,
will sometimes talk about it.
yeah,
But I was putting this in my notes last night. Like, in America, we dare not speak of it. The
yeah,
Europeans, only the French and British will ever mention it, and the Germans flee the scene. They don't want to be anywhere near this problem.
yeah.
So it's like we just don't talk about it. So I would really like to hear your perspective of, what does this feel like? What is the opinion? What's going on, and how do we help? Maybe
Yeah.
can we
Actually,
do anything?
it's a little bit like I don't know how to say it, but you know, there's something happening that nobody talk about anything. You know, it's like, because when you live in the thing, you don't see it anymore. يعني when like you hear about some fights here or there, arrestments all the time, and you can see the settlements like eating the Palestinians areas. Like there is, if you go to Surra or Nablus or all these villages that settlements are go through it and burn houses and burn the trees, and they killed people, and they are doing it under Israeli forces, and so it's like at the same time nothing happened. You know, it's like we are tired. I think we are. It's Palestinian. I think they are tired. You know, it's like everybody is left alone. So you fight for your house, and this is literally actually what happened villages around Nablus, for example. They are fight for their life and for their houses against this settlement, because they are really like frightened them. They, there's action there, and but everybody's doing this alone, and this is very sad, because I think Israel and all the political issues like took the Palestinian in a way to like make them relax, make them not feel that they are under occupation. And this is what we had in in the Book of Ramallah, that you feel that you have nothing. You are in a free country, and but this is very untrue. I'm not political actually activist or something. I will never be, and I never did, yani, because I'm very coward actually. That's it. Yeah, but and I don't like to talk about politics. It's not my main issues, and so I really I don't know how to answer this question. Yeah.
No, it's okay. I started by saying I was going to make a terrible faux pas, and you've let me do it and made me feel good about it. So yes, pat yourself on the back for that. When it comes to writing and the arts in Palestine, I can only, how does one have writing workshops and arts education and whatnot in the conditions under which you must do it? How do you do your work?
Yeah, in a big passion, actually. Actually, I believe in art. I believe in literature. It saved my life, and I think it can save other children's lives. And that's why we do it in passion, and it's hard actually to do, because the educational system is not supporting literature and the lecture and art and all this scene. So, and you need to do it in a very large scales in order to do something. And the publishing system is very, very bad. We don't have a good publisher house. We don't. If you publish a book, you can't take it, to marketing it.
There's no marketing facilities.
Yeah, you can't take your books out, you can't take your books in, so it's a very unhealthy situation in the publishing things, but at the same time we are very advanced as a writers, as artists in the Arab scenes, Palestinians make a very modern literature scene actually.
Do people you work with publish, like this book, the Book of Ramallah, was published in the UK? Is that how people get their books out? Is they find a publisher in Europe and then it goes out from there?
And this is very hard, because Coma Press came to me to do the editing, so it's not like the other way, so
right.
It's so hard to publish abroad. Now I will have a collection in US actually, because a great translator, Fadi Jude, translate a collection of my poetry, so I will be but he introduced me to the also publisher, and so it's not easy as a writer to be published outside. So, and inside, if you publish inside, it's like you killed your book, because it will just be inside. So it's not easy, but we do it. I think some people doing great, others very frustrated from the situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I find it interesting that there's this, you've described this kind of thriving art scene in a situation where there's no major publishers or even small imprints or anything like that. And so I'm like, who's supporting this work? How is this possible? And then even with visual art and all this type of thing, if there are no galleries, how is this how is this being seen? How is it being distributed? How is it being supported?
Actually, visual art had a very good support. I don't know why. I'm like suspicious about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually they had a good. Yani they have funding and it's etc. But literature is the one that is they are trying to kill this industry actually, and yani they are success. But like most of the we have powerful organization like Al Qattan, for example, and they have a good fund, and they are managing themselves. But it's organizational things. It's if you are a freelance writer who, like for me in Palestinian writing workshops, I was volunteering to run this organization from 2013 until 1 year ago, or until 5 months ago. We just had some fund. So it's like, because I wanted to do something. I wanted to publish books. I wanted to do active programs for children, and it was my dream. So I did this with no money. So but this is the problem. If you are a writer who has like an opinion and has his own point of view and want to do something different, it's hard to get funded. It's so hard to be funded. You will be also all the time marginalized, and people will like, especially organization, because you need to be in their agenda, not in your own agenda. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I look, it's like an extra kind of crazy barrier. Like in this country, it is incredibly difficult to get published. I did not have a journal article until last year, and I have been writing since 2005, and it took me 15 years to finally get a major journal to pick up one of my short stories.
Yeah.
And they did a full photo spread of myself, which was a little weird, but
yeah, you have the advantage and disadvantage all the time.
Yes, and so it's like I look at like how many barriers we face in our own publishing industry. Like it's so hard to get out alternative voices because all of our publishing houses are owned by giant corporations who only care about the money.
Yeah.
So, and people are like not getting paid nearly what the companies are making off their work and all this type of thing. And you have all of those problems, and you live in a country that's not really a country, that's getting annexed by someone else. Like, and you don't have like your own internal publishing, all this type of thing. Like, it's amazing anything gets out at all. Congratulations, really. Like for and also, and I think the big thing about it is the perseverance. Like for anyone to write and keep going and keep trying under these things, that's amazing.
Yeah. Actually, this is I always say that this is what makes Palestinian. This is what makes we are very like small people. Like it's a small country, and there is like, but you lived until now. You're not. You don't have any powerful or weapons or whatever or money, but you lived until now. It's actually amazing. You still have this the spirit to live, and and we live our life. Actually, we live it. In a way, we live it.
And I think that's the interesting thing about all, especially the last story in the collection, at the Quinlandia checkpoint. I did not pronounce that right. Yeah, and I was kind of like the whole slice of, like, so many of these are like slices of life.
Yeah.
That I think that was so like, that was so interesting. Like, as they even described like their mother gave birth at a checkpoint, which I just is, I can't hardly imagine, but it makes sense because the line is so long. If you're in labor and have to go through the checkpoint to get to the hospital, you're not going to make it. Like, that's, yeah. I mean,
it's happening. For me as a Palestinian, I don't find it like strange. It's happened all the time. It's not something that is like one-time story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an odd. I mean, for me, it's an odd thing because we don't. I mean, the closest we get to a checkpoint in this country is air travel.
Yeah.
We have our airport security, and I use that term loosely. They're very bad. They never find anything. Um, they did a test a couple years ago where they put a bunch of like guns and fake bombs in bags and sent them through the airports. TSA
Yeah.
didn't find anything.
Oh my God, really?
They're very bad at their job. And but they make a big pretense of the whole thing. And so you go up and you have your ID and your boarding pass and someone in a uniform checks it. Like that's the closest we come.
Yeah.
And like if I want to, get in my car and go see my parents in Denver, which is 1,500 miles to the east in Colorado, I can just do that. No, I will cross 5 states to get there. No one will stop me unless I'm speeding. And when I have a lead foot, so I might get a ticket. But like no one's gonna stop me. It's like the idea that like you go through a checkpoint to go to work every day is mind blowing. to me, an American, where we don't have that sort of thing. I mean, and that's why I'm just kind of like, oh my God, this woman gave birth at checkpoint. It's just so out of my experience. But looking at the human side of what this collection brings out, it makes total sense. Like in the midst of checkpoints and settlements and IDF soldiers, your life is continuing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, I think, what makes this collection spectacular.
Yes.
I mean, for me personally, it's put a whole human face on what can be an incredibly esoteric conflict.
I'm speechless. I'm very happy that you get this from this book, because maybe we didn't mean to, but at the same time, this is why we are writing. The whole things of writing story is that. So I'm very happy about that feelings. And actually, most of the stories, if you notice, that happened on the streets, just one story happened inside the house.
Indoors. I know. I read that in your introduction. I thought that was so fascinating. What is that? What is with that? Why does everything seem to happen outside?
Yeah.
It does here now too because of COVID. But why are you all outside all the time?
Because actually Ramallah, because as I said before, most of the people come to Ramallah. They are not from Ramallah, they come to Ramallah. It's like, so you always on streets, on roads, it's like the things that is not happening inside, everything outside. And maybe because this is the thin line between what is private and what is not. And what is politics actually, and what is social, so just one story happened inside, and I didn't know why, but I found it very interesting, this point. When you think about what is happening inside writer's mind, to write all their stories on roads and outside, it's like they are controlled by the outside scene, not inside. I'm not sure, but there's something special about it.
It seems kind of magical, like there's all this going on kind of outside because people are walking, and this is going to be a silly question, but give us a flavor. Ramallah, I imagine the streets are pretty old and narrow, so I imagine there's not a lot of cars, possibly. I imagine a lot of people, I imagine it's like a cacophony of walking and biking with a few BMWs driving around. That's what's in my head.
This is actually very funny. I was thinking that when I came for the first time to Palestine. I thought I will see tents and when I saw big buildings, I was like, what? They have all these buildings? But actually it's like Palestine is full of cars, and we have Range Rover and Land Rover, all this very fancy. And this is actually what is you have everything. You have everything. You have the poor. What is happening after Oslo, and that makes and also because of the NGOs and the whole community around it. They make a thin layer of Palestinians who's having good money, good salaries. They do investments. They have and.
Right.
and you also have the people who's poor and who's like have nothing. So, but you have this layer, and when you see this layer, because they are seen, so you think that there's nothing happening, you know, but at the same time, everything is happening. And this is why I tell you that we have this feeling like people are relaxed, and but they are not. And also there is this area of, you know, Palestine is when after Oslo they divided it to zones like A, B, C. So there is area that is not under any control, like area C, for example, that they should be under Israelis, but Israelis can't go there because it's part of the West Bank, and the Palestinian Authority can't go there because it's under Palestinian under Israeli authority. So they invent this area where everything can happen. Like you have cars, stolen cars. You have everything in this area. So I think they managed to change the community a little bit. They managed to change the mentality of Palestinians. Some, يعني, not all of them, of course, but يعني, you can see it if you look through it and you look inside. And that's why actually literature is important, because you need to see it. You need, as a Palestinian, we need to see what is happening to us, what they are doing to us, and because you just see yourself as a Palestinian, as a hero, as under occupation, but you need to see what is beyond that, you know.
Yeah. Is there, like, this is another ignorant question, so just apologies again.
It's fine.
Is there like a local like bookstore scene? Like, is there like a lovely like local Palestinian bookstore selling books about things?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we have like you have Al Ja'be in Shari'a Rukab. It's a Rukab streets. You have a small bookstores called Al Ja'be. You have Dar al Ru'ad. They are also like a bookshop that have all the kind of books, even English books. And you have Dar al Shuru, which also publisher, but they have also in Jordan and Lebanon. So you have some bookshops, but it's hard to find new books there, because most of the books like came very late to Palestine, or they just copy it. Yani, they stole it and copy it, because yani, we have, as a Palestinian, we have the right to do that.
Well, I'll make you a deal. We'll stay in touch. And the next time I will have a book coming out later this year, I will make a point of sending you all a couple boxes so you have something new to read.
Thank you.
That will be my contribution, because I'm pretty sure my books are not on sale anywhere in Palestine.
Yeah,
so
please.
I'll send you a couple boxes.
Amazing.
Yeah, that it's it'll be it. Yeah, it should be a good read, because it will be about a family in eastern Colorado in the 1950s.
Oh,
so if you're looking for yes, it'll be a long
Yeah.
novel about 3 generations of women stuck in a house in the 1950s.
Nice.
Yeah, and it kind of starts in the 50s and comes up to the early 90s. And so if people are looking for something entirely out of their experience, and that is, you know, recent, then that will be, I'll have that on offer for them. And so that's a very interesting. I mean, and like I said, so just so many. Again, it's hard to remember. This is a fully functioning, entirely normal city. Like, I feel like I could go there and I would be like almost like I'm at home here in Seattle.
Actually, you would like it. Yeah, lots of foreigner people who came to Ramallah, actually, they don't want to leave it, because it's a really intimate, very intimate place. And it's really a place that you want to live in. Actually, this is true. It's very intimate. It's small, so you find yourself there. You can see yourself on the city, you know. And it has a very small. You can find like shops that selling everything. If you just walk on the street, you will find like everything. It's that kind of place. Everything is closed. Everything is there. Anything you need, you will find it. You know.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the most fascinating the fascinating part. And that's what like the image of the people commuting on donkeys because of the siege was just so striking. I'm kind of like, people can barely handle the traffic on I-5 here in Seattle. Most Seattleites would not get on donkeys to go to work. They would just stay home. Like, nobody would be that committed to their job in America. Like,
Yeah,
nobody.
actually, this scene was not happening like inside the cities. It was happening from on the
The
road.
villages surrounding,
Yeah, the village. I went on the donkey once because it was closed. They closed the road, and you need to go home. You don't know what to do, and people will find you on the street and tell you, "I know the road. Come." And I like worked for 3 hours one days to and through villages I never seen, and then I found the Israeli soldiers, and they make me go back, and that was disaster for me. So
I know, that's
we
so
all
terrible.
lived
Like,
this.
you were just trying to go home. Like,
Yeah,
but
it was.
like, that's the weird thing. Like, in the like, here's just like what's so brain melting is like, in the course of 2 minutes, we've talked about like literature and bookstores and how like this is such a normal city. And then, but also, you walked 3 hours to try to get home and then they sent you back. Like, that happened in the course of 2 minutes. That's insane. That's
And I will tell
absolutely
you.
brain melting.
I will tell you another story actually. And I was finishing my first novel. It was my first thing, and I was going to Ramallah, to Nablus from Nablus to Ramallah, through car, public transportation. So the Israeli soldiers stopped the car, and they took all the identity. So they told me to go down. They want me. They will take me to the prison. I was like, what? It's because I finished my novel. I was like thinking that this is like because I finished my novel, and now I will become very famous. so I so I
You'll meet
gave
Oprah, Angelina
yeah.
Jolie will
So
come to
I gave
rescue
my
you. Yes, yes, yes,
I
yes.
gave the draft of the novel to the one who was sitting beside me, and I write the phone number of the publisher, and I told him, please go and give it to the publisher. So then they took me and they put me on the car, the
The
their
police
car.
car.
Yeah. It's not a police. It's it's if any the forces.
Oh, one of their transports that were,
Exactly,
yes, where they stash
exactly,
people. Yes, we call that the
exactly.
paddy wagon.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like more than a tank or something. So
right.
they took me, and they take me to some settlements, and then after that they come back and say, it's not you, yani, and they make me to go back to Nablus. And that was for me, I was like I was silent all the time. Then at that point I was like shouting, no, I want to go to Ramallah, I don't want to go to Nablus.
Like, no,
So
I need to go the other way.
I
Like,
need to go
if
to
you're gonna take me somewhere, get me to where I'm going. Like, while you're here. Like, it's that's
So
crazy. That's
yeah.
crazy.
It's crazy. This is happening during the second Intifada. It was crazy, because it was long, and you live your life. It's a long life, yani. You need to do things. You need to go. You need to work. You need to go to the university. The university was closed for 3 months. Imagine, we are talking about Corona now, but that was happening all the
Yeah.
time when I was in the university, yani.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been a trippy experience for many Americans because we've never, outside of like snow, earthquakes, hurricanes, we've never closed schools for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And people have had to adjust to like working from home, and students, like, there are some that love it, there are some that hate it, and there's this whole debate right now about going back to in-school learning, and the parents are desperate to get their kids out of the house, the teachers are like, oh my God, we're all going to die of COVID. And so it's become a whole controversy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and also, like, and a lot of universities last spring sent people home early. And then in the fall when they restarted, they had to make an exception for international students to be able to learn online, because on the conditions of their visas, if it wasn't in-person learning, they wouldn't be able to stay. And so there was a bunch of international students that were really afraid that they were all going to have to go home. and miss a whole year of college because of their visa conditions. And then Department of Education quickly changed that. And so it was a different sort of thing. But yeah, it's just all sorts of new experiences that for us have been a whole thing because it's never happened before. For you, this is just life. De
Yeah.
rigueur happens all the time. Yeah. What do you think? How do you think this whole Israel-Palestine thing could ever be unwound?
How what?
How, like, what would it take to solve
Oh my God.
the Israel-Palestine problem? Like, I'm a big fan of, like, give them their own country and leave them alone. Like, can we just do that? There are other people that like annex them onto Jordan or something. Like what would be like in your perfect world if you could wave a magic wand
Yeah.
and somehow fix it?
Oh
What
my
would that look like?
Actually, it's a very, very tricky question, very, very hard one, because what is justice now? What is justice? Yani if I just want to
Yeah.
think about what is justice now, and it's not for me, what is justice for people who's like living in camps in Jordan, who was dying in Jordan, who was like losing their houses, and so what is justice? Yani I really, I think. يعني in my I will not talk about other people, maybe I will think about my only imaginary world يعني
Oh, yeah,
أنا
like you have the magic wand
yeah
and you can create whatever you want. What would that look like?
actually I would love to have like South Africa, like this big like forgiveness trial, like to make justice in a way, to really just to everybody take what they work for it. Yani, I think
Yeah.
some people should be banished. I think some
We
people
talk about that with reparations in this country with African Americans.
yeah
And
yeah
we're, for the first time in 150 years, actually having that conversation
yeah
and what that
yeah
might look like.
exactly
Yeah,
yeah
it's very
and
hard.
it's very hard, it's very hard, but I think I think people should be I think it should be hard on themselves, yeah, in a way to finish this, to end this, because actually I feel sad, I feel really sad that we are all of us are had to live this forever, because when you look at it now, it's end road يعني there's nothing يعني if you will يعني will stay like this forever, but you need to be punished, and then maybe you will be forgiven and يعني
And then maybe you can go on to
yeah.
some other solution. Yeah.
But I think nobody will nobody wants that, actually. I think politics and they don't want that to happen ever, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think doing what South Africa did, I seriously doubt people on the Israeli side of the conflict would ever allow that to happen.
Mm.
Like, that would just be a non-starter. No one would be interested.
Of course.
And yeah, I think that is a difficult. I mean, but at the same time, though, if you'd asked me when I was in college 10 years ago, is this country ever going to have a serious conversation about reparations? I would say not in your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, I graduated from college 12 years ago. Here we are. Like, it was in the last presidential election, and it's a real conversation that's happening. Somehow, some way, it's really happening. And so it brings a whole new realm of the possible. What seems politically impossible might suddenly become possible. But I also just look at it as, like, can you conceive of a world where, like, somehow you all get, like, the Palestinians get their country, the settlements don't have to move, and somehow power can be shared? Like, is that even possible?
Yeah, I think they were living like this before. It was يعني, it was normal, you know. It
Yeah,
wasn't the thing. It's not about the people. I think the thing is about the power, that who wants to be in power, yani, who want to
yeah,
control, who want to make people go away and take their houses, yani. And yani, I think, you know, this is very easy to for me. I think this is what should be, and just to have justice. Yani after you relieve yourself, and maybe you will all live together and make election. Maybe Palestinian be the leader, maybe Israeli will be the leader. Like live in a normal condition. But if it's not, you have like to have a real state for Palestinian, a real state, not just cantons of. Like separated cities, and say this is your land, يعني.
yeah.
You have to be fair, يعني. يعني not be controlled, يعني.
Not
Anyway,
having the defense forces show up any old time they want to, when, I mean, yeah, like, have some real sovereignty about the whole thing.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, I you mentioned a little while ago that you'd been down to Gaza. National Geographic described it as the world's largest open air prison.
It is, yeah.
And that kind of, it shocked us in the West. Very,
Mm.
because I hadn't really thought about it that way, and based upon the reactions of other people in the media, we were all of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a slice of life. What's it like in Gaza?
Oh, Gaza, يعني, if they don't have the sea,
It sounds
maybe.
like they're running a concentration camp down there, and the
Yeah.
irony of that is not lost on me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, no. The thing, you know, if I think about mothers who live in Gaza. Okay, if we just
Yeah.
when we'll talk about the mothers who grow their children in a place like Gaza, that it's like anytime they have 4 wars during the last 5 years.
Yes.
And when you talk about world, Gaza is very, very, very small country, and like it's a very tiny area with 2 million population. So everybody is affecting from one bombs, who's like everybody, يعني, and it was massive wars. It's not just a war. So they live there. They want they when you graduate from the high school, even you go to Gaza's universities, which يعني most of the mothers I know at least, they don't want their children to be there. They want them to travel at least to Egypt or any other countries, and they want them to come back, not just to travel. They don't want them to escape, because they want them to come back, يعني. They
Yeah.
want to see them, يعني. So it's يعني I was noticing this because I was in a family. It was very beautiful family with the 2 kids, and one of them was finishing the high school, and his mother was like crying because she didn't know what to do with him. What now, you know?
Right.
So, and this is like one family, and this applied to most of
Well,
the
I
family.
imagine there's not much in the way of jobs or opportunity in
Of
Gaza.
course, of
Like,
course.
people just kind of sit around all day, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. And they and when you sit around, you don't you don't have passion. You stop seeing yourself as a people who's like productive, or of course people are trying their best, but at the same time, what you are going to do? Very small area, no opportunities, no money is coming. If you are if you are very lucky, you will have a job. If you are not, you will not. So it's not a stop situation. Not يعني that you don't have any moment to relief. You know.
Yeah, it's that constant sort of like, there's all these things wrong, you can't do anything to solve them, so you're just sort of stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
we've become familiar with the virus. we've become a bit familiar. Like, we can't go anywhere, we can't do anything, and we can't stop this from happening.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Ah!
it's yeah. So we all just turned on Netflix, and I think everybody's gained at least 10 pounds. And we were an overweight country to begin with, so that's not so good. But yeah, it is. It does sound such like an open air sort of prison. And I understand it's very hard to get in and very hard to get out. Like, it's
Yeah.
like nobody can really, like, and I understand it used to be different. Like, people that lived in Gaza would work in the areas surrounding that are Israel, all this sort of thing. And now that's all stopped. So everyone's really kind of stuck in there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it is like you are not controlling anything in Gaza. Yani, you can't go to West Bank at all. You can't go to Egypt. They opened the checkpoint there like once in 3 months to people who's like want to go. Yani, like and you can imagine how many people will go, and it's crowded, and yani,
Oh, I imagine that line was miles long.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's يعني living in Gaza, I think it's something beyond the feelings. يعني أنا when I went there, I was very, very, very depressed. I was very sad, and I thank God that they have sea at least. I think this is. I think the sea was one of the things that make them still alive until now. يعني.
Yeah. I mean, and is it difficult to get in and out of it yourself? Like, is that a long
Yeah.
process?
Yeah, of course. I was going there, يعني by chance, but they give me permit by one organization that work there. So I went there to do some activities with children and with the organization. So and this is not happening for anybody. Yani that was like once in a lifetime. So yeah.
No, that's insane. Well, this conversation has been amazing and delightful and eye-opening. I don't want to keep you. So this is the part of the show when
Yeah.
we normally would do plugs for like social media. I don't know if you have those, so I feel silly asking. Where can we find you online if we can do that?
يعني I have Facebook. I have
Okay.
I have Instagram. So it's Maya Abu Alhayat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do this. So here's what's gonna happen.
What?
I will email you, and we
Okay.
will put a link to your Instagram in the show notes so people can keep up with you.
Okay.
And certainly as well. And thank you so much for coming on the Cameron Journal podcast. I really appreciate you just like educating us, because we've all learned a lot today. So
Thank you, dear. It was really nice conversation. Thank you very much. I'm very lucky to have this like 1 hour of talking.
that's all for this episode of the Cameron Journal podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Visit us online at CameronJournal.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I love to talk to my followers and listeners, so please feel free to get us on social media at Cameron Cowan on Twitter. And we'll see you next time on the Cameron Journal podcast.